is a love.
In this video, I will be explaining to you guys why King of Fighters is taking the approach it is going, why the controls have been simplified, and exactly why I think King of Fighters is probably going to do extremely well once the game releases. Now, in this video, if you are not a fan of King of Fighters, I expect you to stick around due to the fact that this is an informative video to let people who are looking for the information know, and for those who do not seek it, please, if you want to, go ahead and leave and do not watch this video. Stay tuned for the next video talking about Ibuki and how I think she will be approached and be brought back to the Street Fighter universe. But regardless of that, this is about King of Fighters, not Street Fighter. So let's go ahead and get right on into this video and let's talk about why King of Fighters is doing the things the way they're doing it. Now, first things first, when you see the King of Fighters 14, the first thing you realize when you see the game is the fact that it is no longer in 2D sprite. Now, reasons for this is to be because the 2D sprites back in the King of Fighters 13 and 12 that they used, not any game before that. In the game before that, they used basic sprites, but these 2D 3D sprites, I called them 2D at first, but they're actually 2D 3D because they are based off of 3D models, but they are actually rendered to be 2D sprites. These sprites actually took 6 to 10 months to develop one character. And we are talking about the actual character's movements, the overall look, the color scheme of the character, and their abilities, you know, in terms of their graphical look of their abilities. It took 6 to 10 months to actually put one character together. So think about that. Now, this is over the span of 12 and 13, seeing how characters from 12 was actually ported over to 13. So for those who think 13 was a completely new game, hell no. They could not afford to make it a completely new game. It was just an improvement from 12. So, for those who are wondering why there are no longer any sprites in the King of Fighters game, that is your reason. If you like it, take it. If you don't like it, throw it away. Regardless, that's the reason why they are going with 3D, along with the fact that King of Fighters has actually been trying to branch over into 3D for some years now with the Maximum Impact series, seeing how those games allowed them to produce characters faster and quickly, and allowed them to do things with the game that they would never be able to do within a 2D playing field, as in 2D sprites. Not the actual gameplay or the arenas themselves, but the character models. It is easier to create new characters and to create new combinations of buttons and movements, as in the characters, how they move and how they play, their fighting style, with 3D models than it is with sprites, seeing how you have to hand draw it, and every time you mess up, guess what? You gotta redraw it. But regardless of that, that's enough talking about the aesthetic look of the game. Let's go ahead and talk about why the game has been simplified. Now, when I say simplified, we are not talking on Naruto Storm level, we are not talking on Persona level, and we damn sure are not talking about Guilty Gear level. Guilty Gear is a simplified fighting game, but it also has advanced mechanics to it as well. For those who do not want to agree with me, go play the game and then go play something like Virtua Fighter. Now that we got that out the way, King of Fighters 14 is a simplified version of the 98 through the 2002 game series, actual fighting mechanics, and I have no problem with that, seeing how it also pulls aesthetics from the actual King of Fighters 12 and 13 branch of games. Now, with that being said, King of Fighters 14 actually does a lot of things that 13 and 12 failed to accomplish, like the feeling of actually accomplishing something without having to do a super unnecessarily long HD combo. Now, they have also actually removed the HD meter and brought in the new Max mode, which is actually a revamped version of the original Max mode in the original King of Fighters 98 through 2002, which I believe the original Max mode was introduced in 2000, and it was pretty much perfected in 2002. Now, what max mode allows you to do is it allows you to eat extra special attacks, and it also allows you to allows you to do a little bit more damage, and allows you to do your ultimate. Because what happens is when max mode is used, max mode also takes a bar of your meter. You will see a meter that goes up to 5, and once it hits 5, it's at max. You don't have to use max mode when it gets to 5. You can use it when it gets to 1, and it'll take that 1 bar and put you back at 0. But when you achieve that max mode, you can actually use your ultimate in max mode without having to just use your ultimate without having max mode. But once you sacrifice your ultimate in max mode, you lose max mode as well once you finish your ultimate, whether you hit or miss. Now, going on to the continuation on why they simplified the game. The King of Fighters franchise has been simplified because they are not only approaching the hardcore fan base with not too simplified mechanics while still allowing us to do short, simple yet complex combos. They also have the simplified version of the game, which was the actual appeal of casual fans to allow everybody that wants to try the game be able to pick it up and play it, whether they want to get extremely good to the professional level or whether they just want to play and dink around with friends. It has the ability to be both, kind of like the approach that Street Fighter 4 and the even more like that approach Street Fighter 5 is going with right now, with the extremely casual like gameplay. Now, in terms of the roster, the reason why the roster is so big from the start is obvious. It was a sacrifice of extremely high quality graphics or a larger roster. Now, I'm not saying the graphics are not going to get very good at all, seeing how we have seen a huge jump in graphical fidelity from the first gameplay that we saw. But the graphics aren't going to be as good as they could be because of the roster size. Now, in King of Fighters 15, probably going to see a graphical enhancement if the game King of Fighters 14 actually sells numbers like it needs to do. With that being said, the roster size is also a pull to grab casual fans in as well to buy the game, because guess what? The more characters, the more people want to play the game, so they don't have to wait for DLC. Think about it like this. Street Fighter 4 had an initial roster of, was it 12? It was either 12 or 16 characters. Think about how many games. Street Fighter released 3 or 4 other games. It was Super Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, and now Ultra Street Fighter 4. 3 additional games to get the roster that they have now. King of Fighters 14 is starting off with 49 characters. I believe it's either, I think it may be 50 if you count the boss character, but 49 starter characters. So that alone makes you think, so should I get Street Fighter or should I get King of Fighters? Street Fighter has the better looking graphics, but King of Fighters has more characters for me to mess around with. Which one do I choose? To a casual player, most likely they're going to go for the large, robust roster rather than the aesthetically, beautifully looking game. King of Fighters is going to be looking good in its own way. As you see, it is, like I said before, continuously getting better the more we see trailers and gameplay and actual in-game gameplay, as you have seen from the actual PlayStation experience, seems to look better than the actual trailers. Seems to be that they have progressed farther in the in-game gameplay than they have in the trailers, and I am happy to see that that is the case. But with that being said, overall, I think King of Fighters 14 is going to do very, very well. I think that it's going to put King of Fighters back on the map, and it's definitely automatically going to hit the tournament scene whenever the game releases. But with that being said, what are your thoughts on King of Fighters 14's approach? Do you like the new 3D graphics? Do you like the new gameplay? Do you think the game is going to flop or do very well? Either way, tell me in the comment section below. This has been TWB. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you guys in the next video. And I'm out.
City that never sleep, like a song on repeat. Oh yeah, we come with this beat. We keep it sexy like R&B. Now you can sit down and complain about the mundane things, or capture the city. Don't be afraid, live in the fast lane. Bright lights in the street, come on, you feeling like a star, man.